welcome back into Open Line. We're so glad that you've joined us this evening. If you are just flipping through and you landed here, we're glad that you did, and welcome into Open Line. We're talking about legal questions this evening with our expert, Kevin Kennedy from the Kennedy Law Firm. Kevin, I tell you what, we've had a lot of people calling, and we're glad if you're just tuning in, like I said, that you make sure you get online with us. If you have those legal questions, call as soon as possible so that we can get to many of those as possible. We are going to go right back to our lines right now. Jess is on the line. Jess, good evening. We're glad that you're with us. Do you have a question or a comedy?
That's all right.
Or a comment?
Go ahead, Jess.
Question. My mom's she's 85, had a lady coming in, home health care sitter, whatever you call it.
Yep.
And she had a episode in her personal life recently where, I don't know, it was kind of question of ethics or something, and it kind of spilt over into the into our family a little bit, and I'm just wondering, legally, where do you draw the boundaries between their personal life and their job, I guess?
Well, you did good. And we know that when we deal with people in a professional status, usually nurses, nurse practitioners, all those in the medical care profession are licensed, so they're governed by the state. And we agree. People can come in. Are they treating us professionally? Are they trying to move into a personal realm? And then there's the gray areas. And I'm telling you, I would be very much concerned with anyone that you thought went outside the realm. And most of the time, there's going to be a supervisor you can talk to. And if it doesn't work out, you can always ask, I want those people away. You know what we're sensitive to is the home health nurse that comes and visits an elderly man, which we've seen many times over the years, and all of a sudden he's a widower and they've run off. The nurses told us, said, well, come on, and there goes he. Well, no one wanted that because of all the money, and there's a problem, and we end up in a lawsuit. So again, you need to stay in touch with your loved one, monitor them to make sure there is no such thing as elder abuse or undue influence. That's where someone exercises their influence over that person's judgment. You've identified the issue, do your investigation, take a proactive approach.
All right, thanks so much for the call. We'll go right back to the lines right now. Bobby is on the line with us. Good evening, Bobby. Do you have a question or a comment for Kevin?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead, Bobby.
I want to know if I draw up my own will and get it notarized, if that's legal.
Okay. Bobby, in the state of Tennessee, we have what's known as the holographic will. It's still legal for a citizen to write out, I leave everything I own to Chuck, and I could sign it in my own name. That would be legal. You'd have to have someone provide it. But all of a sudden, guess what? If I had children and say that he was out of his mind, he was on some medication, he never wanted Chuck to take everything, he cared about Chuck, but really he's always told everyone, and that considers a will contest. How do we cut down on a will contest? Very simply, just go to a lawyer, have it executed properly, because they go through a little rendition. No one knows this. What do you do when you execute a will? All right, Chuck, do you know your name? Yes. Do you know the extent of your property? Yes. Do you know your issue? What that means is, do you know who your kids are and your family is? Yes, yes. And you've read this will, and this is what you want to do. If I ask Chuck, are you of sound mind? That's really a gray area, but we would probably get him passed. And really, you can have interludes of not being competent and still get a will. If the day that we do it, you know who your children, know the extent, then you can do it. Sometimes we video those if there's any question and we know there's going to be a fight.
All right, thanks so much for that question, Bobby. We appreciate you calling. All right, once again, a lot of folks on the line. If you do have one of those questions or comments, make sure you get online for this second half hour that we are here on Open Line. Let's go back to the lines right now. And Don is on the line with us. Don, good evening. What's your question for Kevin?
Yes, sir. I appreciate you having this show, man. People that drive around that don't have no car insurance, and if they get in a wreck, and then say like a truck driver hit you, but like what I'm saying, the truck driver hit somebody else hit the truck driver hit you.
Yep.
and then you go to try to, get compensation because, what I'm saying, you weren't hit by the drunk driver, you was hit by the truck driver.
Yep.
And now the insurance company and the lawyer's officers tell me, well, you don't have a case because you didn't get hit by the drunk driver. So now your car or vehicle is damaged or whatever. And now you're just a person that you're being penalized because you don't have insurance because you couldn't afford it. And the public don't know that sometimes these big law firms, they say, well, if they might as well tell people, look, if you don't have insurance, don't call us because you're not going to be covered by nobody. They're not going to take no case if it's small money. And people don't know this. Now, I don't know how the police works with some of these big firms and companies and stuff like that, but sometimes the police, they can write the report up to where it's in favor of the truck driver, and so the man or the woman that gets hit in the accident, they're the ones that's left out in the cold, and they're being penalized. Poor people being penalized because they didn't have the money to afford insurance.
Well,
and the big insurance companies can come in there and they can say, sir, ma'am, you don't have a case because you should have been insured, basically.
Yeah. Don, I just want to say that you really have identified the issue. Before this week is out, there will be several come in with that same situation. Okay, we live in America. You know there's going to be people on the roads with no insurance. Is it a trouble when people can't afford insurance and they still have to get to the doctor and they still have to get to grow? Yes, we all recognize it. So what is the lesson we learn from this, Don? We've got to figure out a way to get some insurance because there's lots of people that have no insurance. How do we protect ourselves? We protect ourselves because we try to get some uninsured motorist coverage. And you're right. If there's any question, my experience with the insurance company and the insurance defense lawyers, no, we don't. We're not going to cover that. And then it's a long process. And if it's only property damage, can they bully you? They can keep you tied up for a year. And you say, well, that's not right. Again, with the COVID situation, cases are being continued like you can't even imagine. And you say, well, that's injustice. I'm telling you, that's what we are confronted with. There's a glut in the system. And so I'm telling you, do whatever it takes to try to get that uninsured motorist coverage and protect your family. I was involved in a wreck myself. No insurance on the other side. Well, thankfully, I had some to cover us. Now, will you still have to fight the insurance company? Absolutely. Do you need some help to fight the insurance company? Absolutely. And that's one of the great things about we still have the tort in Tennessee where a lawyer can take your case in a car for 1/3. It's been that way for decades. Why is that important? Because you don't have money up front that you have to pay, but you got somebody with knowledge who can advance your cause. And guess what? The insurance lawyers, they're good lawyers. They know that you're not hyping them up. They know that's for real, and we get a settlement. So, again, that's what we're sharing. Thank you, Don, for your question and your comments. You're right on par.
Absolutely. It helps a lot of folks right there. All right, let's go right back to our lines right now. Harold is on the line with us. Do you have a question or a comment for Kevin?
I have a question.
Great.
And I got a comment.
Okay.
My question is, a person purchases a ball cards, and they send them out to get graded. If they're worth a lot of money, do you have to get them graded to show that they're valuable? And my comment is, if somebody's famous passed away on the card, and they wrote their name on the bottom, and then they're writing, does it need to be authenticated? And I ain't gonna listen. Thanks.
Okay, that's pretty good too. You know, somebody can present a piece of paper and say, well, this is my friend's last will and testament. He wrote it, left it to me, and he signed it. That's his handwriting. Yeah, you're going to have to authenticate it. And do you have to have things graded? No, you don't. You can go out and sell coins, and you say, well, I think these coins are worth $500. You know, these are mint. Well, that's your opinion. Of course, another grader can come in and say, no, they're not a 10. They are an 8 on a 1 to 10. So we get into opinions. So there's that legal maximum that when we talk about let the buyer beware, caveat emptor. caveat it. So when we're buying, you should always have someone come in and say, well, he represented to me that these are worth this much money. Well, it's on the buyer to check it out. Do your investigation. Bring in a friend. You know, on a Rolls Royce, they said, hey, these Rolls Royce are $500,000. He told the truth. They're $500,000 a year old. But if it was 5 years old, is it $500,000? So again, you hold the responsibility. And so many people get aggravated and they say, well, I was cheated. Were you? It's good to have a friend. A good understanding does keep down a misunderstanding.
All right, good to know. Thanks so much for the call. All right, we are going to take some more calls right after this short break. So if you have been thinking about calling, make sure you get online with us. We'll get you right in line here on Open Line. We'll come right back after this.